In the last video, we looked at how to go and find words in the dictionary. And you may recall the second sentence we found was I play the game, je joue le jeu. But we talked at the time of how did we get from the verb we found in the dictionary to the spelling joue, J-O-U-E. And this session is going to look at how we get from the start to the finish with simple verbs in what we call the present tense, the things we do now. Now there's a posh word for this, and it's called conjugation. But to be honest, when you're starting off in French, the simple thing is just, I need to change the spelling of the verb. And the reason we do this is because each different spelling of the verb corresponds to who is actually doing it. So, we're going to follow some simple and easy steps to get there. The first thing we do when we start by finding verbs to go and make sentences is we look up the verb in a dictionary. Now, that seems fairly straightforward, but we can't just look up eats or plays or drinks. We always have to look up the word in the form to something. So if I was saying she eats, I would look up eat, as in to eat. So let's have a look in our dictionary and see if we can find our verb to play. Now if you look closely towards the bottom of the page, you can see here is our verb, to play. It says a verb next to it, that's why we know it's the one we're looking for. And if you look at it just underneath it, it says jouer. Now, when you look at verbs in the French dictionary, they always end with two particular letters. And those two letters fall into three groups. Verbs that end with the letters ER, verbs that end with the letters IR, and verbs that end with the letters RE. At the moment, let's look at the most common group, which fulfills more than 90% of verbs in the French language, and that's the verbs ending with the letters ER. And here's a prime example, the verb jouer. Now, if we return to our page, we've looked up the verb to play, and in this case, that verb, as we said, is jouer. So how do we get from jouer to joue? Step 2 is the easy step. And that is, we take off the last two letters. That's why we call this group of verbs ER verbs, because they are the last two letters. And it's as simple as going in this case, it's going to leave us with what we call a stem, and that stem is J-O-U, joue. But we still have one more thing we need to do. So step 3 is we add an ending. And the ending we choose to add to this word joue depends on who is actually doing the verb. Now, there are lots of people who can be doing verbs in language, but it's very easy to sort of remember them. There's I, you, he, she, we. There's another word for you in French, which is when we're being polite or talking to a group of people. And there's also they. Let's have a look at these now. I is je. You is tu. He or she is il or elle. We is nous. You, when we're talking to maybe the queen or your head teacher, or if you're being polite, move out to make it more easy for you to see, is vous. And finally, they is il or elle. But this time, they've got an S on the end to show that there's more than one person involved in this. So, now we've got our parts of the verb, and I'm just going to move je over here to make it easier for you to see. We write down what we had out before, our stem. Here we go. For each of them, it stays the same. We don't have to worry about it. We just keep writing joue down. But the key thing is, like we said at the start, we add an ending, depending on who is doing the verb. Now, if I am doing the verb, I add the letter E. If you are doing the verb, as in you, my friend, we add the letters E and S. So, tu joues means you play. If it's he or she, we add the letter E. So far, so easy. If it's nous, we add 3 letters this time, O, N, and S. Nous jouons, we play. If it's you, talking to a group of people, you add the letters E, Z. Vous jouez. And finally, for il and elle, the plural form for they, you add the letters E, N, T. But you do not pronounce these 3 letters. So it still sounds il joue and elle joue. So now, going back to our original sentence, I play the game. I is je. And if we look in our table, je, there's our stem. And here is the letter E that we've added. So I play the game, je joue. If we play the game, nous jouons le jeu. If they play the game, ils jouent le jeu. And that is how to write verbs in the present tense when they end with the letters ER in the dictionary.